Welcome to the Branded Podcast, where Justin and I, here's Justin.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, where we're trying to do a podcast interviewing people with our limited skills and techniques to find out about different people's journey to the cross. And today, Justin, who do we have?
We have with us David Garland. Welcome, David.
David Garland.
Thank you.
Now, I think I asked you earlier, you prefer Davey, is that correct?
Oh,
No.
go with Dave.
Go with Dave. All right. Okay. I got that then. All right. So tell us about who you are. And in fact, I think you were mentioning earlier about you have a very unique introduction into the world. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, my parents, my mother and my father, they started off in a small church in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And, they always liked their pastors to be married and have kids. And so they convinced my mother a couple months after getting there and not having any kids that they really needed to have one. So,
Okay, time out here. So that means your dad was a pastor.
yes.
What's his first name?
William.
Pastor William.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Continue on.
So, I'm not sure how I can convince a young lady just a few years married that, she was getting old and in danger of being out of the age at which she could have children, but, it caused my mother to really pray for a child. And then because they really liked the way that King David was beloved of God, they named me after him, hoping that I could take those same attributes. So,
Wow, I like that. I mean, most people that I hear that are called David is just because it's a popular name, but you're
Specifically
folks,
biblical.
Yeah, specifically biblical. Wow.
So, you mentioned your folks have been married a couple of years. Had they been trying for a kid, not trying for a kid? Was there a medical reason why she was worried about having children? Or
well, her sister didn't have kids until she went through the changes in life.
Oh, my.
Oh, my, yeah.
But, my mother was in her early 20s, and, while my dad was still in school, they were hoping to not have any kids at that point in time. But then,
Until the church had a board meeting and they made some decisions.
We need a pastor to have some kids.
Yeah.
This.
Okay. Continue. You're doing great.
So anyway, I was prayed over much before I was conceived, and, that I would have, some of the faith and some of the love of King David for God.
Wow.
So,
Sounds like you may have had some of the whole church praying for you. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember that church at all. So we left there when I was about a year old. So
okay. All right. So tell us, that was the foundation laid for who you were going to be in the Lord. What about your own personal walk? When did you find that personal relationship with Jesus?
Well, before I had the relationship with Jesus, we lived kind of in the middle of nowhere. We had one neighbor to the house, and
What state was this in?
this was in Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania.
rural Pennsylvania.
Rural Pennsylvania.
And so we had a neighbor beside us, and there was a husband and wife and no children. And anybody else, it would have been a walk of at least half a mile or 3/4 of a mile
Wow.
to get to another house that had somebody there.
All right.
Oh, okay.
So I spent a lot of time looking through things, and after I read, I started reading a lot. And
How old were you when this reading began?
I started really reading other things was in 2nd or 3rd grade.
So this has been a lifelong affliction that you've had.
Yes,
You
very
mean
much
passion
so.
for reading?
Oh, passion. Okay,
Passion.
we'll call it passion for reading.
And studying and learning things.
Okay.
So, but I think I was in about 3rd grade and, learned about what infinity was and the end of the universe and, what there really was an end of the universe. And I spent a whole afternoon contemplating that. And at the end of that, I decided that there had to be a God.
And you were how old at that time?
I guess that would have been about, 7 or 8.
All right, I just want to slow down just a little bit. At 7 or 8, you had contemplated the vast universe that we live in, and you contemplated, just infinity, what that meant. And so in your childlike mind, it was probably more like a man-boy mind, intellectually, you decided that there had to be something more.
Yes. I've since found out, actually last year, they call this the Kamala effect, that, there was something that had to cause the universe to be in existence. But so it is officially named now.
Okay.
I didn't know that at that
theory.
time.
Yeah.
So the journey through the universe, it's a desert of stars, and so the Camel effect took care of it, right?
Yeah.
Camel effect. So what you're saying is, though, is that through like contemplation, scientific study, and reading, you decided there has to be a creator. There has to be a God.
Well said.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and the other thing I remember, my head hurt at the end of that.
Oh, I would think so.
I think my head's
As
probably
a-
going to
as a
hurt at
third
the end of
grader,
this.
yeah.
At this end of this podcast, my head will probably hurt too, because it's sometimes it's hard to keep up with you. You're
You're a smart guy, Dave.
Yeah.
But then, sometime soon after that, my dad is preaching a sermon. Had Revelation 3:20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone invites me in, I will sup with him and he with me. And it's just kind of like, hey, that's a logical conclusion there. We all need to invite Jesus into our life. So I did that.
So is that? I love that verse. Is it a life verse for you, or is it just a foundational verse for you, or both?
It's a foundational verse for me, because that introduced me to God and became part of the family of God at that point in time. Well, and all I see was faith is a logical conclusion. I guess I should point at this point in time that did spend some time in this little town, Pennsylvania, called California, PA. And they got a state, it's now a university.
Okay.
And they're known as the Vulcans. So
The Vulcans, very good.
Yeah,
a little
so-
Star Trek.
So do we have any
reference
Star
in
Trek fans out
Yeah,
there? We're
yeah,
about to find
That's
out.
good. That's
Yeah.
good.
So
Since we did touch on it, do you have a life verse that you really lean on, and that's the verse you can go back to, or is it just a lot of them?
that's a lot of them.
Okay.
And different ones come into play at different times. So
Cool.
we'll save that for
All
what's
right.
going on now.
All right. So at this time, you're a preteen, and you did say to set our alarms off, right?
I did say to turn our phones on silent.
I'm gonna probably silence mine. And
We would appreciate the folks at home would too.
thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, so you were a preteen, and you had made your decision for the Lord Jesus.
Yes.
Continue from there.
And then I guess the next pivotal important events was that when we were in fourth grade in Sunday school class, they decided to have a competition between all the I guess it was fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade were kind of together.
Mm-hmm.
And whichever class read the most Bible verses, they would give a prize to.
Okay.
So I know I read all the New Testament, and probably other than the Old Testament where they have so many of those names,
Right.
but read the prophets and the Psalms, and
And this is for a competition?
For verses, remembering verses, and you read the entire New Testament.
read the entire New Testament and 2/3 of the Old Testament.
Wow.
And
Wow.
you think, well, it's just for competition. I think I read more verses than any other class did.
Okay, here's the question. Did you like doing it? Because a lot of people could do it just to win something, but did you like doing it?
I like doing. Looking back on it now, what really surprised me is what I had read stuck with me all through high school. In fact, that somebody would mention something, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, that was in First Corinthians somewhere, and I'd pick up my Bible and I'd look through First Corinthians.
So you have the capacity to be able to recall the address of a particular thing you've read?
Maybe not the address, but I mean
The general proximity?
General proximity, and then it wouldn't take too long to find it. So.
Yeah, I mean that is a wonderful gift to have, to be able to recall and then get you to a certain spot and be able to find it.
Yeah.
So,
well, through this process, you're talking like elementary school. What did you start to develop a personal relationship with the Lord? I mean, we've talked about the logical conclusion, and we know that a lot of your intelligence said, "Hey, there's a higher power," and you started reading. When did you feel that you began to have a relationship with Jesus and with God?
yeah, I like that.
That would probably have been when I was in college.
Okay.
I mean,
So up to this point, it was
a lot of head knowledge.
a logical conclusion to the matter, and so you based your life upon that. What happened in college?
Well, I started joining with one of the campus groups. Actually had one of their weekly meetings in the dorm that I was in.
Okay.
And I went to that, and then they, of course, they're doing that to find out who among the freshmen they need to go and talk to.
And to pick up girls, right?
Actually, they're probably a little better than that because they were.
Oh, they were more spiritual.
They were a little bit
but they
more
were college kids.
But they were college kids.
All right.
Not everybody was like you in college, Tristan.
So, but one of the things that this particular group had was they really liked Paul. I mean, they loved Paul. Paul could do no wrong. Read Paul, study Paul. And so I did.
So this is a flavor too, because Paul's got a very, very cerebral view of Scripture. Though he's got the Spirit-led part of it, a lot of his teachings are quite deep. And so the people you were hanging out with were similar, I imagine.
Well, yeah, ironically, you say Paul did a lot of the Spirit, but they didn't look into that too much.
So they were just the legal arguments that he could present.
The legal arguments.
All right.
But, one of those verses that Paul says, earnestly desire the spiritual gifts, especially you may prophesy. And it's kind of like, well, Paul said, this was over the summer. I was still studying Paul, and the writings of Paul was through the summer. And I said, well, Paul said, earnestly desire him. So I said, that sounds like a good thing to pray for. So I did. And things started happening.
Before you continue the story, which we want you to do, I just appreciate what I'm learning in the conversation with you here is that you have a teachable spirit, which is a hard thing to have for someone who has a lot of things cognitively. If I said the word right, it's hard to have that humble, teachable thing. Oh, well, that's reasonable, and I'm going to trust that that's the way to go. So I appreciate that. So now that you're in the study and you've read this verse and you're desiring more, where's it go from there?
Well, at this point in time, I was back home, and we had the church youth group met sometimes over the summer, and we had a new guy join the church. And he was in a motorhome explosion, and
Oh my!
he was burned 70% of his body.
Wow!
And he was in the hospital, all wrapped up in bandages. And this guy came in and prayed for him, and the bandage just fell off. And it's just kind of like the Lord healed him in an instant.
Just miraculously healed.
Miraculously healed. Bandages
Really?
fell off. When you're burned, your body swells up.
Yeah.
Well, when it gets back to normal, those bandages around the swelled up body, it was no longer swollen, so they fell off.
The cocoon fell off.
The cocoon fell off. And he was healed and changed.
And you got to...
You witnessed this.
I didn't witness it.
But you knew him, you knew the situation.
Well, I didn't meet him till after this had happened. But
Okay.
but it changed his life. I mean,
So his testimony about this was probably really, really
his
good.
testimony was, hey, God still heals today. It's not just history stuff.
Right.
God does things today.
Amen to that.
Yeah. What kind of church was this you were going to at the time?
We were going to a Methodist church.
Okay.
I mean, at this point in time, my dad was no longer the pastor. We moved from Pennsylvania to Maryland. And
So how did that testimony change your walk with the Lord? What about that was significant to you? I mean, other than, did you have more of a realization that healing was for today?
I mean, I always knew that, hey, the biggest miracle of all is that God can save us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
true.
mean, as talk of, something that had more spiritual power would be saving somebody from hell. Because that would just take the
yeah, the miracle.
not just a little change in the body here or there or whatever, but I mean a big change, spiritual world change.
Yeah.
Redeem somebody from this world and the life of sin and set them on a path to heaven.
So, with that testimony and you were college age there, coming home for a summer break. Is that
Yeah,
from here?
that's right. Yeah, for freshman
summer break,
year.
freshman year. The Lord started stirring inwardly with a message that wasn't just stuck in your head. So this was when you were developing an intimate relationship with Jesus.
Well, it's starting to. I mean, becoming open to it. And then I got back to school and I started, reading Isaiah. I mean, talk about blowing your mind.
Yeah.
The way my schedule was, I had some hours in the morning that I was able to go back to the house. I lived with 5 other guys. And
Okay.
nobody else was there in the morning at this time, so I could go in there and I could
Have your quiet times.
have my quiet time, and I'd start off reading Isaiah and, how God, so loved his people that,
Yeah.
and it's like every day the Lord would reveal something new in those chapters, and it's like, it blow my mind. I mean, it's just...
Then we get to chapter 51 or 52, and it's like, oh, okay.
And so, I mean, it was just, wow. And it was just kind of ironic because I'm rereading Isaiah, or I just finished rereading Isaiah. I'm in Jeremiah now, but it's kind of like, and now I'm on a little deeper walk, and it's like I read the same chapters and I get a totally different thing out of it.
Yeah, you do. You do. They're infinitely
So-
deep. Yeah. So, all right. Well,
So anyway, I was, still going to this group that really liked Paul.
okay.
And, but I was, the Lord he was touching me. So some of my friends had started going to a charismatic Catholic prayer group. So,
Charismatic Catholic prayer group.
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So I started going that with them, and, they're saying, hey, a person with a fact is in an argument is at the mercy of a person with an experience. And,
So it was a more experiential type of flavor then.
well, I mean, when God does something and he blows your mind and touches your heart, it's like, it's hard to say, God isn't real. It's hard to just keep that to yourself.
Yeah, it's hard
Yeah.
to hold back, right?
Yeah.
Hard to hold back. And so we were talking over with other students in the corner of the student union, and we'd go there, and the leaders kind of lost their touch with the group because this group of us, God was moving in our life, changing us, and they could just listen to us all day, and
So,
other group was losing their control of the group.
so the little Catholic-oriented, spirit-filled, it sounds like spirit-filled
very
group
definitely spiritual.
was kind of a launching pad for you to experience what it meant to walk by the Spirit. Would that be a...
Oh yes.
Okay. So that's where that started, where you were leaning more. I mean, you still had the head knowledge of Jesus, but now you're experiencing him in a relational way that was much deeper.
Yes, to the rest of me.
All right.
So, I mean, the singing in the spirit. I mean, it's just, I lack the words to describe it. So it's just has to be what heaven's like, because heaven's beyond time. So singing in the spirit is music without time.
Now, were you ever in the praise mode where you were actually dancing a little bit? Because I haven't experienced seeing David dancing. I'd love to see David dancing, because that's your namesake.
I was trying to say, you are named David. You should dance every once in a while.
Yeah, I've done that in a few churches.
Few churches? Did they ask you not to come back, or what happened?
No, it's just... Actually, we were in one church for a while that we had our violinist would dance while she was playing the violin.
Wow.
That was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I asked her about it one time. She said, well, I can only dance when I'm playing the violin when I'm playing praise music.
That's a good thing to do. So, you've got quite a few... you haven't really told us your pedigree as far as your educational pursuit. That would be helpful, I think, for those who are listening and watching, to see where you are or where you came from in life and what God has done in your journey. With college, what kind of degree did you get?
I've got a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering sounds like a good fit. And did you put that to use?
Well, actually, yes, I did. I worked for a power company for 8 years, and then I went to work for the government.
Time out. He went to work for the government. Do we continue? I don't know if we continue.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, is this top secret information?
I don't know. Okay. Back to you.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to share anything.
Yeah, okay. No specifics.
No
Okay.
specifics. That's all right.
But you used your mechanical engineering, computer skills to work for the government. Gotcha.
I started off there a while, working in engineering, and then I eventually transferred over into cybersecurity. So
Okay. Good. I get excited when someone has a pre-wired condition. God has made us in a certain way, and I even think of Paul. He said of himself, "I was separated from my mother's womb." Basically, the life he was in, how he went through his schooling, how he went and became an evangelist for Jesus to the Gentiles. That was all. He was pre-wired to be. That's where he'd flourish. And in fact, I had a friend who was he was an electrical engineer, and his mom shared a story of him when he was really young and just starting to, draw on the chalkboard, and he wrote out CAT, C-A-T, and then he drew a picture of it. But instead of a tail, it had an electrical cord on it. And it's like, he used that to say, for him, his life was from his mother's womb, he was separated for that calling. It sounds like you have a similar journey too. You were designed in a certain way, and you were able to flourish in that, in the Lord, which is wonderful.
To some extent, I mean, and the story of Moses, he spent 40 years in the wilderness. I'm not sure what the Lord was doing with him, but he was preparing him for when he came back and talked to Pharaoh. And, I had a lot of time there when I was working to support myself and support the family, that I wasn't nearly as able to do all the things with the church as I would have liked to have done.
Well, that was going to be my question is, while you're having this career, you're out in the workforce, mechanical engineering, then for the government, you're doing cybersecurity. How did, your faith fit into that workplace, and did it fit into that workplace? And you're saying you were kind of lost in the wilderness. Is that time frame? That's the reference you're making?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that were going on that was preparing me for some of the things that are going to be happening now that I didn't realize that I couldn't conceive of what was going on. Like, and with Joseph, he told his brothers his dream, and
Yeah.
they threw him into a well and then sold him into slavery and to Egypt. It took 20 some years before he came out of that to become the number 2 man in Egypt. And it was like, he did a lot of growing there, and he developed a lot of tools that he was going to use later, but it doesn't record exactly how that happened. Some of that I feel like, even though I was there, I'm not sure exactly how that happened.
It sounds to me like you are now in the phase of life what I would call the Mordecai moment, where, as he was saying to his to Esther, for such a time as this. So this is your for such a time.
Yes.
What is God currently speaking? And I know in talking with you, and I've seen there's an excitement about what God is doing or the direction to go. Share a little bit about what that is right now.
Well, the Lord persuaded us to move to Tennessee. And, actually I was talking with Kelly a couple of days ago. She was saying, yeah, and remember what you said? Everybody says, what did I do to deserve this? And I was looking at the house we bought here, and it's like, oh, this is so beautiful here looking out this. What did I do to deserve this?
Right, right.
Like, well.
And how long have you been here? Just for...
We've been here, well, we bought the house in, I think, 2019, but
okay.
Then I retired at the end of 2020, and then we came down here full time after that. So,
okay.
It took us a while to find the church here.
Yeah.
So, and then, it's like, because I'm apt to wonder about things and
overthink them. Do you overthink things?
Sometimes I overthink them. But I was saying, Lord, why did you bring us down here? And he brought us here for the coming Greenville revival. So,
all right, speak to that then. I know that's kind of a passion on your heart.
We've had a lot of guests who come to this area and just know it was a calling from God. And there's going to be a great revival, and it's going to start here. So, tell us your story.
Yeah, in fact, why don't we do this? You have a vision in mind of what that looks like. Is there a way you can describe what that revival looks like so that maybe we can recognize a little bit about that, oh yeah, I can see what he's seeing?
I mean, the revival, I mean, I understand other people have different definitions for revival. But, that is, what I'm talking about is a God-inspired, Holy Spirit-powered move of God. That he will be here in power. I mean, you read about the Welsh revival in 1903. They talk about, if you look at the conditions here and there, I mean, technology is definitely different. And, at that point in time, they didn't have the drug situation that we have here. But they had really bad alcoholism. I mean, had pretty much the same effect with a different initial cause.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. And I'm going to focus in here. There's something that causes you to be excited about what you see or hear. There's something that causes you to vibrate with
enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell me what that is you're seeing.
I'm not sure all this going on. I mean, just go about what, back the...
We'll settle for hors d'oeuvres. If you can just give us hors d'oeuvres, you don't have to give us the main course.
Well, I mean, the Welsh revival, they're saying they had a lot of activities for the police to do, muggings, robberies,
society had gone downhill.
Society had gone downhill, and, they're all very busy taking care of crime. At the end of the revival, they were still busy.
Yeah.
But they were mainly doing traffic control around the churches, so everybody can get in the churches now in an appropriate amount of time.
All right.
So, the business was flourishing, everybody was prospering, except for the bars and taverns. A lot of them closed or became repurposed because God's hand was on those people. He touched them, and it was, if you live the way that God intends you to, you prosper.
Yeah.
And these people were prospering. I mean, all of a sudden, they went from a depression to a economic boom just because they were starting to live the way that God was. I mean, if you don't have to spend any money on securing everything, you can just spend all your time making things productive. It's just a good way to have to improve the economy, to improve the relationships between people. And
tie that together with what you're seeing right now. You talked about the Welsh revival. What similarities are you seeing here in our little sphere of the world?
Well, we are in the pre-revival time here. I mean, things are bad. Everybody talks about, the meth heads down the street. You don't want to go down there. You don't want to do this. You be careful when you go out. And right now in our section of the world, is things are not nearly as prosperous as they are in a lot of parts of the rest of the country.
So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is that, and I think it's not just locally, but I do think there's a lot of these problems around the nation of drugs, opioids, all these different things, society, going downhill. But it sounds to me like you're seeing not only a turnaround in that through God's people heeding His word and coming together, that it's going to start here. You feel like that revival, that turnaround to all those problems is going to begin right here in Greenville. Is that accurate in how you feel?
Yes, that's accurate. I mean, God is going to start moving here.
Why do you feel that? Why do you feel it's here?
I can't put that into words. I mean, it's just, that you know.
Okay.
So hey, I've literally had the Holy Spirit, the Lord, tell me to sell a truck before. So if He can tell me to sell a truck, I'm sure He can tell David revival is going to start right here in Greenville, Tennessee, and I'm all for it. Amen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I agree. I agree that God moves in the hearts of men, to accomplish His will. And I'm kind of a looky-loo. I'm trying to find out
He likes to dig and find out why.
Because there might be something that you're experiencing that somebody else, once they hear somebody testify, go, I was experiencing that too. And there'll be confirmation from places you'll never anticipate. So that's why I'm being a little bit nosy, trying to find out. There's lots of stuff going on inside of you, and it's a blessing to be able to share that.
I think you're one of the first people I've heard that wasn't a missionary or an evangelist or something along those lines who's hearing that call. Because I've heard so many of those kind of folks talk about, they were drawn to the Rock Church in Greenville. They were drawn to this area at East Tennessee to Greenville. Because they're just following what the Holy Spirit's telling them to do. And I think you're hearing the same thing, but you're the first one that I know that's not necessarily a pastor, an evangelist, or anything like that, that's hearing that call. So,
yeah, all I know is, God's told me, starting here, I'm going to do great things. I don't know what that means. I just know when God says you're going to do great things, that's a good place to be.
In. Yeah.
So we'll just, the baby steps then. Obviously, this is part of it because you were a little resistant to come and do a podcast, but then you weren't. And so it may be that this is part of that journey. Well, it is part of that journey. What other little things are you seeing that Lord asking you to initiate, to spearhead, to lean into that are part of the, as you put it, the pre-revival?
Well, I was thinking, it come to me a while ago that it's probably years ago, really, that I wanted to come and have my background in cybersecurity, and that's something that I can hopefully share with the kids in the church.
It's a more modern skill that's very usable, right?
It's a usable skill. Yeah. It's something that I know that I have some experience in that other people don't have experience in. And I was thinking, okay, we can do that. That'd be a good thing to teach to the co-op. And then I guess it was last year, the Lord started putting on this, our youth, we need to go and have something for them to be able to do. And we need to build an economy, help be part of building the economy and showing them where to go and what to do. And so actually it was before the men's weekend that we took down the men's ministry. We went and
A retreat down in Nashville.
yeah, the retreat. And, I kind of said, okay, Lord, I mean, because I like to do too many different things, and I know that I can't do everything at the same time because it's just impossible for one person to do it all.
So the Lord might be just sharpening your focus on the things that he wants you to lean into.
Well, I mean, no, this is more of a, hey, this is the way people work. And
okay.
I see a tendency in myself to try to do too many different things at once. So if I wanted to, I'd be having a whole wood shop in my house and be restoring old cars and learning how to build a foundry, all at the same time. And
all the cool stuff guys like to do.
You
right?
are speaking to the choir with Justin and I. We can relate to
so, but I mean, I know that I can't do them all at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
do you feel that's part of God's plan is getting you prepared to help lead young folks to establish a modern career? And maybe that's your part of this pre-revival and revival?
Well, I mean, this.
Okay.
So
I'm talking too fast.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting a couple steps ahead of there.
Okay.
So anyway, at the men's retreat, I'm saying, okay, Lord, I'm going to focus on the, working with the kids and trying to have them understand, hey, a lot of these things you need education. You need to have something to prepare yourself for this. Yeah. So I said, okay, I will set myself aside and dedicate to do that. And that kind of happened at the men's retreat. And then right before we were finishing, the Lord said, oh, okay. And that's really good. I'm glad you're going to do that. And you're also going to have this Center for Cyber Excellence in East Tennessee. It's kind of
okay.
Center for Cyber Excellence.
Center for Cyber Excellence.
That.
All right. See, now, it's getting good.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
So, that goes back with, hey, what, teaching the kids at the
co-op. You're teaching
co-op.
Computer, yeah.
Probably gonna have one of the little bit, hopefully more learning, but also gonna be a little bit more demanding of the students.
Yeah, expect more from them
because we have a lot to cover. But it's the Lord is just going and it said, well, I'm there, but Lord, we want to have the revival. We want to go and we need to build a new worship center so we can have a place for all this to happen and be a center of it. And then the Lord's saying, well, hey, this is all part of the revival too.
Yeah. Because revival it's not a place. It's not a place. It's a functioning of what happens in your heart.
Yeah.
God is reviving us, which means that, and I think it's in the context of raising a dead man. Our
well, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's our spiritual life was one that at one point in time was on fire, and then it just kind of died. And God comes back, and I call it the spiritual CPR. That's what revival is in my.
But I mean, how this working with the careers with the students and the cybersecurity goes into revival, I don't know. I have no idea. I just know God told me they're connected, so they're connected.
Maybe it could be the fact that the language of AI, the language of computers, that is part of the language of this next generation. If you don't know how to speak that language, you're missing out quite a bit on being able to speak to them in a way that they'll be able to hear it. And it sounds like that's a perfect avenue for you to speak to our church is only one generation away from extinction. And if you don't speak into the youth in a language that they can grab a hold of and apply, then you lose them. And that's where you don't ever compromise the message of God. You don't have to change the message of God. You just have to change how you're able to speak it into the native dialect of the next generation, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying and trying to relate, but one of the other things about John Wesley, founder of the Methodist Church.
Church. Yeah.
And everybody knows, yes, he was a good evangelist, and he spoke.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he only spoke at most churches once. That was the first time and the last time, because he was a little controversial and they didn't invite him back again.
Oh my!
But a lot of people know that, but what they don't realize is, he also wrote a number of books that went with his, religious teachings. What you needed to do to be a good farmer, what you needed to do to be, any of the.
So he put practical handles on.
He put practical handles on how to live and be in the 1700s. What you needed to know to be able to live and thrive in the 1700s. It was written in John Wesley's books.
So in the few moments we have left, what has God placed on your heart for the next step? If not for you, for others, if you were to speak in a way that helps others to come on board and go, oh, I see what you're talking about. What would you be saying for the next step?
Well, I mean, I believe that is why we are here at this church. They have I don't know if you heard the 80-20 rule. 20% of the church does 80% of the work.
Yes.
I also call that the Pareto rule, and it's in so many other things, but this church is kind of different than most. We don't follow that 80-20. There's a lot more people
more involved. Yeah, I agree.
In this church than there are in most of the typical churches that I've been a part of, as far as that goes. And, God is raising up this church to do something mighty. I mean, and the other thing is, there's so many people from elsewhere that are here, and
it almost seems like a gathering place for all those folks coming in from different parts of the country, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I was talking with Pastor Tim and said, I guess no prophet has any honor in his own country, so we have a lot of honor here because nobody's in his own country.
That. I like how you put it there. So you would encourage that. It sounds like to me that the next step is to get involved. In fact, in Scripture says that we are God's workers, God's building. We're actually co-workers with Christ. So we need to be attentive to see what he's doing and join in that work. What is he doing now? And he'll set the pattern in motion, but it's all about stepping into action, and maybe that's would be a good way to start a revival, just learning how to be active.
Yeah, as one of the things that Tim hit really well on in one of the services was, talking about how we're yoked with Christ.
Yeah.
And everywhere else I'd been at, when they do that, they show the single yoke.
Oh.
But he was pointing out that, hey, when you're yoked with Christ, it's a double yoke. There's not by yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that he is the one who's teaching us.
Yeah.
What to do, pull the load, and we're the trainee, the minor trainee, not doing most of the work, just doing a little bit of the work.
Wow.
So
wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing. There's a lot to think about and unpack here. Justin, you got any thoughts? Any other questions?
I got one last question for you.
Okay.
So if you were to speak out right now on YouTube or Facebook, wherever folks were watching from, to the young folks, and maybe you caught their ear, you started talking about cybersecurity and careers, maybe you caught their ear. What would you encourage those young folks to do right now? Maybe they're thinking about a career, maybe they're thinking about a job, maybe they're trying to figure out what God's plan for their life is. What would you say to those folks?
Well, I think one of the things that is so messed up in our society is that, we need to do everything as that we're working for God, and, to do our best in that, and to work to our best to be what we can.
Yeah.
God has called us to work.
Put a hand to the plow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and that's on one side. On the other side is that God has made us to do something specific. And we need to go and ask him what that is.
Yeah.
And, God does not want you to be in something that you're totally unsuited for.
Yeah. Find out what matches you.
Find out what matches you.
Find out what God has called you to be, and then be the best one of those you can be.
Wonderful.
I like it.
Okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and close us
All
out,
right, we'll
Justin?
close it out. As always, folks, thank you for joining us. Be sure to do all those important things: like, share, subscribe. That all helps the algorithm, helps the message that we're trying to get out to more people. Hey, also comment down below. Got something you'd like to add? A question for David? Put it in the comments below, and we'll try to get back to you. Okay. As always, thanks for joining us. We'll check you out next week.
Thank you, and thank you again, David, for being here with us.
Yes, thanks,
Well,
David.
thank you for having me.
All